Can I just say thank you, Ira, for the discs?
Brilliant. Glad they finally got there in one piece.
How long did it take?
2 weeks, 3 weeks?
I know, it was quite quick, wasn't it? It was about 9 or 10 days. I was surprised because with all this virus and Christmas and everything, I mean, we're under total lockdown here again. It's unbelievable.
I was going to say, I wish my stuff would arrive in 9 or 10 days instead of 9 or 10 weeks. Hey, so we've got some Cocoa people here today. Say hi, Mike Rowan. You're muted, Mike.
Hi. Yeah, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, Mike.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Thanks, Mike.
Same to you, Mike.
Hey, who else we got here? Neil.
Hey, Happy New Year, everyone.
Where's
How's it
your
going?
No turntables in the background there. No musical
No.
today.
Not tonight.
Petrie, hey, Boise, how you going?
Good. Good to see everybody here.
And who else is from the Cocoa crew here? Well,
Curtis.
well, I'm Ian Maverick. I do a fair bit with color computers as well. I'm trying to do more.
Curtis.
With the year 2021 will be onwards and upwards.
Well, while we're talking about Cocoa, I've got an apology, really. About just before the Christmas issue, Dave and Sharon Beery, he's got a 1984 Cocoa 2, and he's done all sorts of fantastic upgrades to it. It's got a USB keyboard, Wi-Fi, uses it with a Model 3 Pi for printing. He's replaced it with a 6309 processor and 64k of RAM. Anyway, he sent me details about this, and he has a video on YouTube. I asked if it would be okay for me to advertise to YouTube, but unfortunately I either missed it or I didn't get it, his permission. So of course, without that, I didn't proceed, so it didn't get in. But what I'm going to do is ask Pete, if I send you details of this YouTube link, could you put it on when you do the blurb for this show after tonight, please, Pete?
Certainly. Send it along.
Okay, so has anyone got anything good to say about 2020?
I got
It's
over.
Yeah. So we're all glad it's over. All right, on to 2021.
No way. There's so much good stuff happened. Burger King started home delivery. McDonald's started home delivery. You know,
So
these are good things.
So the war against obesity in the United States, it's officially done and dusted. It's over.
It continues raging.
Food one.
Food one.
My midsection agrees with you.
For those of you that are watching via YouTube, asking how to get on the Zoom session, send an email to TRS80trashtalk@gmail.com, and we'll get you the info to Zoom in. It may take us a while to get back to you because we're trying to just manage the live show now. But
So anyway, Mr. Eric Dittman, what was the best thing about 2020, and what are you doing this year?
Oh, wow. Well, the best thing about 2020 is it's over. This
Yeah.
year, I just haven't made a lot of plans because we don't know what's going to happen.
You've probably bought more crap and put it in your place.
Well, yeah, but that goes without saying.
I'm just thinking, I'm hoping I'm not the only one that's been doing that.
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay.
But this year, last year, 2020 started out incredibly for me because we had the candy trip of all trips when we did the Frank Durda rescue down in Texas. Was that in January or February? I forget now.
I think it was January, but how is it that that's the highlight of the year?
that was the highlight. It was all downhill from there for me.
From there, yeah.
I was out of work for a while. I'm sure like a lot of people were. And then some of you know, early last month, I got hit by COVID. My whole family did. And it was pretty intense for 2 or 3 weeks for me. I was in the hospital for a bit, and there were a few times there where I thought, if this just goes in one direction a little bit, this is going to be really bad news for me. So there were a few times there where I actually had to think about breathing. Like if I stopped thinking about it, like I wouldn't breathe. It was crazy. So I don't like to preach or politics or anything, but if anybody tells you this is just like the flu, this is serious business. So do your due diligence and take care of yourselves. But we're all better now. The whole family's better now, so we're all good. So thank God for that.
Yeah, didn't know you had gotten that sick, Pete, and you look like you've lost a little weight, but thank God everybody's recovered.
Yeah, thanks.
So will you be lining up for the vaccination?
Well, I mean, I have the antibodies, so I guess I don't need it immediately, but eventually, I guess.
I figure that, they're going to say to us here that we're going to need it to travel. So whether I like it or not, I'll have to have it if I'm going to make it over there this year. What do you got plans for this year, Pete? Not get COVID again. I figure that's the first main one.
No.
So.
What are my plans for this year? You know what? I mentioned it in the last podcast, but it was to sort of redouble my efforts on the podcast and make it more of a regular thing. This past year, I think we only released 4 episodes. And, there are a lot of reasons for that. COVID
they were
being
kick-ass episodes.
It was a crappy year.
There was some burnout, obviously. We've been doing the show for 5 years, so sort of redouble my efforts on the podcast and make it more of a regular thing. This past year, I think we only released 4 episodes. And, there are a lot of reasons for that.
Have you got a dictaphone? Are you reminded so when you come back later, you can...
Time warp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just playing it back to himself over and over.
I just like to hear myself talk over and over.
Kyle Wadston, 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, a lot of reasons for that. Have you got a dictaphone? You guys, if you could mute, who's ever not talking, just mute. That'd be great.
Hey, Mav. What's the question?
I just like to hear myself talk over and over.
Looks like it's Craig needs to mute.
Can you please repeat the question?
There we go.
Yeah. What was the best thing about 2020, Kyle, and what are you going to do this year?
Hey, I won the game contest, so I'm going to take a break from assembly language programming for a while.
I have to send you something, don't I?
Well, I need to send you something. So, no, I hate to say it, but I think 2020 I didn't have any big issues. I thought it was a pretty good year, believe it or not. With all the craziness, it's been going pretty smooth.
Did you manage to work from home like I did and do about 3 hours of work per day or something like that?
I'm still waiting for some VGA connectors for my Pocket TRS. I owe a couple of you guys a board, but I'm not sure they're coming. They're from China, so it's been 2 months now, and I think I have a US supplier that I'll just order some more from this guy and get those things knocked out. So that's on my to-do list. And I've got a new product coming out. I'll probably start taking pre-orders perhaps next week. It's called Newprint 80. It's a virtual printer that you plug in, and it'll send output to a browser or iPad, iPhone that you can save or print or whatever you want to do with it. Fairly simple device, but it's kind of neat. If you got like a basic program you want a listing printed out of, you just shoot it over Wi-Fi and it should be interesting.
And will that work on the Model 3, Model 4?
It should work on anything with a printer port, I would imagine. I've been doing design on just a Model 3, but again, I think it's just, I don't know there's a difference between like Model 1 and Model 4.
Burns the PDF.
I hope to. I don't have that implemented yet, but that's just a software issue. So features will be added as time goes on.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I got to say, that's a kick-ass library you got behind you there. I wish my library looked that good.
Yeah, I'm not all the way through yet, but it's coming along. Actually, I'll admit that's a Zoom background.
Oh, okay. I'm supposed to be well read, but every time I think about it, I could be reading more.
That should be all 80 micros or something behind you, right?
Exactly. Well, you know, I do have a lot of bookcases that look like that. It's just this is not a real one.
Awesome. Who are we up to? Blair Robbins. Hey, buddy.
Hi there, Mav. Good, great to see you. Happy New Year.
Thanks.
Hey, Blair.
Hi, Pete.
Hey, Blair.
Hello. Hi, Eric. Well, I hope
you're
we'll be able to
Tandy.
see everybody in person at Tandy Assembly this year. I hope it works out.
I was going to say, you're a Tandy Assembly regular. You've come to 3 out of 3, haven't you? So,
Yeah, I believe so.
yeah. So I bet you're looking forward to this year's one.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, no, I was very disappointed that 2020s had to be canceled, but obviously it did. But yeah, I hope everything is within order by as we approach the end of the year here, and that well, we'll be able to proceed with our plans.
Yeah, we have most of the Tandy Assembly Committee here, and I think I can speak for them, but you guys can speak up if you want. We're well set for 2021. The place is already booked, and you know, no problem. We're going to do it.
All right.
Happy New Year. Everybody. Just got here.
Hey, Ian, how you going?
Hey, Ian.
Gen Z is in the house. Pretty good. I just got my Model 3 going. Just got it assembled together, so pretty good.
Looks like you're having fun with them. I've been following your Facebook things. Occasionally I speak up, not often.
My
but...
epic restore of the Model 3 over there.
Oh, it's cool that you're getting into them. They're fun machines when they're working right, aren't they, guys?
Yeah, I'm probably the only person right now here that's probably under 20, maybe.
Easily. I thought we were going to say under 40.
Yeah, no,
when you got your first machine?
You just got your first machine?
Yeah, but how old were you when you got your first Tandy?
Mine, 8.
8? Nice.
Yeah, 1978.
I was probably 12.
13.
Yeah, I think I was 11 when I had got my first Model 1.
Yeah.
Oh, Ian, I'm very curious, Ian. How did you end up with the Model 3?
What?
At your age? How did you end up with the Model 3 at your age? I'm curious how that came about.
I actually just sort of like the 70s and 80s so much, and I have a big interest in vintage technology and electronics, and so that was kind of the path that I wanted to take. And so, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm also into vintage, like hi-fi and stuff like that. So.
Oh, you picked the right brand, Radio Shack.
Yeah, Radio Shack. Yeah, how would you say
there's some
trash? My dad calls it the Trash 80, but I wouldn't agree. I don't know.
We call it the Trash 80.
So. Really? You call
love. It's out of love, though.
Pete, yeah. I think he has realistic expectations.
Oh.
Yep.
I actually have a realistic. It's a model. It's an STA 2080. It's from like 78, I think. Here, wait.
Yeah. I've still got a 2290 packed away somewhere waiting for me to repair it, but I'd never throw it out, the 2290. Yeah, beautiful. Love the green, or whatever you call it.
Yeah, like the VU meters and the...
Yeah. Yep.
I'm probably the only dial. What?
Just the green backlit tuning dial.
Yeah. Marks an era.
Yeah, it is. I'm probably the only person in my high school that actually listens to 8 tracks and records still, probably. I don't know.
Sure. You're probably one of the few left in the whole world that listens to 8 tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say vinyl's made a big comeback, so
Yeah, I was going to
you
say.
can't go down the vinyl path.
Yeah, I don't. 8-track is one of those things that's probably never going to come back.
No way.
No way.
So it
Did you
looks like we have a few other new people who haven't joined us before. Matt London, have you been here before?
I've not. No.
Welcome.
Thank you. I hear you talking about Tandy Assembly every year and go, oh, I love to go. And family, it's generally just not practical. I think about the only retro computing get together that I make on any kind of regular basis is World of Commodore, and that's because it's basically 20 minutes down the road.
You don't like flying?
No, I mean it's I got a Model 1 when I was, I don't know, probably 13 or 14. My grandpa gave me his when he was having a clear out, so he was getting rid of some of the stuff that he had in the attic. So that sort of added to my collection. I mean, I think if we're looking at retro computing, that's probably where I started, because that would have been like the early 90s. And so I played with that thing and loved it. I got a lot of love, but it stayed in the UK when I emigrated. I recently picked up a 4P, so that's on the bench at the moment.
Oh, nice. What was your favorite game on the one?
I didn't have many. I had a disc of random Os 80 games, so it was it was mostly just basic stuff, but it had Space Invaders on there, so I got a lot of gameplay. If I wanted games though, I had an Amiga, so that was my games machine. The Model 1 was, I did a lot of tinkering with hardware on it. I had an awful lot of stuff.
Yeah, they're good for that.
Plugged into the line printer port and peek and poke in order to flip stuff on and off. That thing took a beating.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So what are your plans for 2021, Matt?
Good question. Hopefully they keep the schools open. Otherwise, life's going to be difficult. We've got a teacher. We've got a 5.5-year-old who's just started senior kindergarten, and a 16-month-old who's at daycare. And when they're both home, working is incredibly difficult.
What do you do?
I was just trying to find some time for projects. I got a huge bin full of things that I want to work on. Never seem to make any progress with any of them. So just get going with something.
I've never called my study or work area a bin, but that's actually a pretty apt description. So I might have to borrow that from you. My better half looks at what I do and sort of says, "What's it all for?"
Oh, my wife has a simple rule when it comes to my retro computing stuff. She says, if it fits in your office, you can have it.
Oh, right. Well, mine's the opposite. It's like if any of it ends up in the marital bedroom, we're over.
If my mom had that slogan, I wouldn't have my room anymore.
Well, at least you're not relegated to a shed like Patrick is.
Yeah.
Hey, where's Patrick?
Painting. He painted. He did too much painting today. Now he can't operate the computer. Hi, Pat. If you're watching the playback of this, we know you wouldn't get high on the paint fumes. That's not your style. Who we got else here that's new? Let's talk to Boise. Hey, Boise.
Hey, Mav. It's good to see you. How are you doing?
Likewise. What are your plans for 2021?
Just to continue doing working through like I did in 2020. This year wasn't bad for us. Knock on wood, we were all healthy and good, and survived the year fine. So just on the hobby side, doing a few Coco projects. Hopefully will be able to attend Tandy Assembly. I think we'll have a better chance with it being toward the end of the year this year, as opposed to being at the beginning of the year. I still don't think we're going to do much in terms of events for the first half of the year, but certainly looking forward to seeing people again. And
it would be good.
It would really be nice to do that. So,
I mean, I was thinking back in November, I was looking at when they were talking about when's international travel come back, and it's kind of like I'm in that unenviable situation, whereas I have the means to go to the USA twice a year, but not the ability now. So I was going to start to try to go to Cocoa Fest as well as Tandy Assembly, but I don't think they're going to have the shit sorted out in time for April for the Cocoa Fest.
I don't think so either.
I don't know. I expect it's going to be difficult.
Yep. I've been listening to some of your Cocoa Crew podcasts.
How do you like it?
I put them on in the background when I'm soldering. Yeah.
Good.
Hey boys, it's great to see that you're continuing that the Cocoa Collector video series. You gonna keep going with that too?
I intend to, Pete. Yeah, thank you for that. It's just a matter of finding time to do them. It takes a little time to, put the videos together and so forth. But yeah, I really am enjoying that. I have quite a few Cocos, so at the rate I'm going, it'll probably be about 3 or 4 years before I get done with it.
It's a lot of work, right? Creating a polished video. You don't realize it until you do it.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't consider my videos too polished, but in any case, yeah, I certainly want to make sure I put out a decent product, and
mine are the opposite of polished. But do you ever have a situation where you're in the middle of your video monologue, and family or grandchildren walk in and start talking when you're recording?
My secret actually is I overdub. I shoot the video and then I talk it through with a professional microphone while I'm playing it back. So I usually don't have any interruptions like that. And if I do, I just redo it. So I know some video creators will actually do their audio while they're doing their work. I just find that it's a little too difficult for me. So overdubbing works great.
That sounds great. I just don't have the patience for it. So
that's why it takes longer for me to do it.
Boise, I have a question for you, if you don't mind. You did your new project. It was one of the first Cocoa collectors that's not about an old Cocoa model, but you're actually the whole networking project that you're doing. Are you planning more along that line too? Because that was really cool.
So someone had asked about that, I think, today. I probably should do a tutorial video. I really need to put up at least 1 or 2 more Cocoa collector videos that just show off Cocos. But yeah, I would like to maybe focus on that. You're talking about the Ghidorah project, I take it. Yeah.
I was going to mispronounce it, which is why I didn't say the name. But
yeah, that's fine. So yeah, that's the intent, is to have maybe 1 more video to maybe do a tutorial. What's really nice about that is that you don't have to have multiple Cocos set up. You can just use a single Coco with a drive wire cable and still prove out the code and the server side. So anybody that has a drive wire cable could use it.
Cool. Good to hear. Thanks.
Hey, Pete.
Yeah.
There's people asking in the YouTube chat for the email address again.
TRS-80 trashtalk@gmail.com. I've had a few come in already.
So, Pete, have you had a chance to unearth any new gems from the Frank Durda collection? Have you been going through more stuff?
Not too much lately. I need to get back on it.
Has anybody heard anything about Computer Reset? Because they were taking stuff out of there. I haven't heard from them in a long time.
I went there last month. They're having limited by reservation meetings. Most of the TRS-80 stuff is long gone. They did find a cache of binders for the TRS-80 microcomputing newsletters, new in box, but other than that, there hasn't been much lately.
You can actually find, I I don't know. Last time I went, so I was there as well last month, and you can actually see in the back left of the warehouse there are still a couple of DT 100s, and then the Ys I think 75 that are the same thing, the same terminals. There's still a nice pallet of them or a pile of them back there. They are weather damaged or weathered, so they'll need a lot of love once you get them. And I did recall seeing a DT 100 still sitting on the second or the first level of the pallet shelves in the warehouse down on the left. And then if you go to the other side where everything opens like doors to the outside, there is a pallet of Bernoulli drives, the 20 drives. Again, lots of weathered stuff, so gonna need lots of love, but I grabbed 2 of those as well. So
when you mean weathered, do you mean like, are they like white plastics and they need to be like retrobrighted, or are they just like damaged? Like
they've been sitting either outside or so the Bernoulli, I'm probably saying it right, but Bernoulli drives are not sitting outside, but they're sitting by the door there, and that's probably where they've been for the longest time. The ones I pulled out were really dirty. The DT 100 terminals are probably a little more weathered. The one I pulled had a lot of rust on it. I had to pull everything apart and take a wire brush and some chemicals and try to dissolve things and clean them up, and then repaint a few things. But they're still salvageable. I mean, I think for the most part, all the electronics are just dried out capacitors, honestly. And then whatever problem they were brought in to reset for to be dumped in the first place.
Yeah.
Finding working Bernoulli drives, the big units that were used on like the Tandy 6000, really difficult. You can find the units, but in almost all cases, the drives don't work just because of the physics of the way they operate. There's, the tolerances are so precise that, especially ones that may have been exposed to elements, I would say almost just forget about it. They're not going to work. Almost guarantee it.
Well, companies that had those drives when they broke, they just kind of threw them out, like, because they have new technology. They're not going to use those old ones. So that's kind of sad, but it's true. So
Eric, how's it?
Well, they were just originally 8-inch floppy drives with hard disk heads on them.
No, they weren't.
They were, but what I would say is that Peter knows a bit about them. So if you've got a broken one, just send it to Peter Satinsky.
I have 20 broken
452.
Yeah, we went to iOmega.
Yeah,
we went to iOmega when we bought those, and for the service organization, and they took us through the factory and showed us how they were made and stuff. And they're not floppy drives or floppy media. It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, right. That's what I meant to say. They were floppy media, but they had upgraded.
No, they're not floppy
heads.
media. They look like floppy media, but they're not. And it's a totally different thing. The gosh, it's been so long. The substrate and the magnetic media on top of it are different. It has a different coercitivity, and they spin very fast. Of course, you know that, and the heads are totally different. So it was these guys were from IBM that started the company, and it was a really cutting edge tech at the time.
Here's one of the cassettes.
That's it.
Yep, that's it.
This is a 10 megabyte.
Right. And they were formatted on special machines that only they had. So if you ever blew the format, then your cartridge was trash.
It was toast, yeah.
Hey, so just FYI.
On those, does the head touch the media, or is it
No.
above it?
No, it's above it.
Okay.
Right.
So on the Bernoulli cartridges, I don't know if you guys noticed or not, and kids where I've been chatting with a woman named Allison in Florida. Her father either owned or did own two or three Radio Shacks. So we're trying to hunt some stuff down to see what they've got, but she actually has a bunch of things listed as like Microsoftware Pro, I think is her seller name on eBay. And I actually grabbed a still new in package, still in the original Radio Shack cellophane. You could tell it was old Bernoulli cartridge. So I just popped it open. I looked at it and I was like, she still has them. I mean, it's a little pricey. She's also got some other things, mainly a lot of stuff for the 2000s that I've been just kind of picking and pulling. But yeah, she's got a lot of stuff on there. I grabbed a pack of double-sided 8-inch floppies, Radio Shack brand, so I thought it was really cool. She's got a lot of stuff on there, and I'm pretty sure she'll probably be popping more on there. I'm gonna try to keep in contact with her, and for the sake of finding those things that that are not common. But yeah.
I picked up a
Maybe not
supply
try
of
to
these.
use the Radio Shack 8-inch discs, Joel. They're garbage. You know that, don't you?
I did not know.
I picked up a
most-
lifetime
Wow.
supply
I
of these, whole case of these, like
Yeah.
10 3-packs. So I have a lifetime supply. I'll never run out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, Joel, that Radio Shack media, well, Ira will agree with me. It's only a cut above, I don't know, Elephant or CDC, isn't it, Ira?
Okay.
So we have,
Actually, what?
I was going to say we have a few more new people I wanted to get around.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Roy Edmond, welcome.
Hello, Roy. Nice to meet you.
G'day, guys.
Where are you from, Roy?
I'm in the Blue Mountains, just west of Sydney, and it's been about 30 odd years since I've used the TRS-80, but I've just got myself a TRS-80 Model 1, which is the same machine that we had in school in the late 70s, which I'm just starting to restore.
Oh, yeah, you're using one of my units on it, aren't you?
I am indeed. Thank you very much.
You're probably my age when you used it.
Yeah, I was about 14 years old.
Yeah, I'm 16 now, so.
When Roy mentioned the Blue Mountains, I thought he was in West Virginia.
Yeah.
No,
That's what I was thinking.
How many Australians in West Virginia again?
Two.
Home country roads.
Lee Adamson. Hey, Lee, how you doing?
Hey, I am actually from West Virginia.
Oh, there we go. Perfect segue.
So am I.
Oh yeah, small world. We'll have to go work on Tandy's sometime. Yeah, I got my first non-DT1 TRS-80 in 2019. So I'm primarily interested in old Unix stuff, which leads to my bucket list idea of getting Xenix running on a Model 2. So I've been working on this thing lately, but unfortunately UPS turned it into junk for me, which was very nice of them. So that's been an ongoing project.
Yeah, I hate UPS. They're not...
The keyboard was particularly nasty, but I've been fixing it the same way that I fix motorcycle fairings. So hopefully it'll turn out decent. I don't know. But yeah,
Did you have a TRS-80 as a kid, or did you just get into it?
I was an Apple II kid, and then I painted barns all summer when I was in junior high to buy a Macintosh, and learned C on that with no protected memory. So that was lots of fun. But yeah, I had a DT1 when I was in college, hooked to a Linux machine, and that's the only TRS-80 that I had until a couple of years ago when I bought a broken Model 4 off of a guy to fix on my YouTube channel. And from there, I found out about the Model 2 and found out that it could be outfitted with a 68K and run Xenix. And I said, I have to get one of these. So I'm beating my head.
Yes, you do.
Hope you like projects where you repeatedly bang your head against a wall.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty
on the way
hard.
to success.
I feel one of the great challenges in retro computing is getting a base Model 2 to run Xenix 3.2.
Well, I have one of the old dog-eared. I've got all this stuff outside. So I've got one of the old dog-eared 68K cards.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some PALs to enable burst mode on this thing, but I haven't gotten around to that. I don't have a RAM card, but from the schematics, it looks pretty simple. I'm going to try to build myself a RAM card. But the thing that's really holding me back is a hard drive controller. I mean, Ian Maverick, you make that Type 2 reproduction, right? But you still have to find the controller that comes out of the box. You know what I'm saying? So I've been thinking about trying to make a reproduction of a Type 4 controller. I don't know how difficult that'll be, but if it doesn't have any custom chips other than PALs on it, and the PAL equations are in the manual like they are for the rest of the stuff, it should be possible, right? I don't know.
Drop me a line and I can save you reinventing the wheel, because some friends and I are working on a reverse engineer of the Type 4 controller.
Oh, really?
Had a Christmas break, but we'll probably get back into it pretty soon.
If you need a testing guinea pig, I will most certainly volunteer.
Again, like the usual problem with them is expensive, difficult to find, obsolete parts on them holds us back more than the actual design and beta testing. Once they're actually designed and working, they're pretty good. But then we have lots of late 70s technology on them that quite literally have not been made since 1981, and trying to find those parts in significant numbers at the right price.
Does the Type 4 controller use DML at all, or is it all IOM?
I believe it does.
Yeah, okay, that complicates things. I was thinking, if you build a little circuit to present an Arduino as the same I/O port mapping as like one of the old hard drive controllers, it might be possible to make an emulator a little easier.
Could, if I knew anything about Arduino.
I don't know.
There's a definite cut-off date to where my knowledge of this stuff ends. So, but yeah, it would have been interesting to be back at, Tandy R&D back in the day, because the feel I get is like we've got a million of these octal buffers from 1978. Let's use them in something. And does that ring a bell at all, Ken and Val?
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
So, whereas if I design something, I'd use a 74LS 245, but the Tandy card uses a DP8303 or 8304, which does the same thing, but you can't get them easily. And when you can, they want a lot of money.
I have to say, I'm really impressed with the Model 2 so far. I mean, the design of it is very straightforward, and the technical manual is one of the best technical manuals. I think it's
yeah. How do you find the keyboard?
Well, my keyboard, of course, doesn't work.
Okay, that's like all our keyboards
But
when we
none of
acquire them.
work, though, which concerns me a little bit. I would have thought that some of them would have worked. I haven't poked around with the scope or anything yet, but I guess if all else fails, and that there's a microcontroller in here that I'm sure has some kind of custom firmware in it. But if all else fails, I guess I can desolder all the chips and put some kind of 18 mega 32 on there and bit bang.
Hey, here's a tip. Maybe just check the foam pads under each key switch.
You think it is just the foam pads? I figured at least some of them.
Yep. On like the keyboards I've worked on, it's been the foam pads. Sorry.
I've done a few of those over the years, and I've never found the electronics of the keyboard to be at fault. It's always been the foam pads. The trouble is, you got to set aside a weekend of frustration to do the whole thing.
I'll do that the next time I'm listening to the church talk.
If you're wanting to test the keyboard, you can go ahead and just flip it over, pull all those screws out, and just set the assembly aside. The pads themselves, the actual circuit board, it's capacitive touch, so it's like your iPad. So you can use your fingers, and you can actually test and make sure that the keyboard's working before you rebuild it with new pads.
Yeah, I will say that I did have one Model 2 keyboard that had faulty circuit.
But it probably came from computer reset, so everything's
I thought they reproduced ads. Didn't somebody reproduce those?
Yeah, Texelec and some
I'm not ordering anything else from
Texelec. Or what Eric and I do these days, which is just buy Sun keyboards. Which are they?
The Type 4.
Type 4. Sun Type 4.
I've got a Type 4 Sun keyboard, but it's hooked to my Type 4 Sun, so I don't want to do it.
Yeah. And so we buy them, destroy them for their foam and oil assemblies, and you can if you're dexterous, you can do one of those in half an hour. So
Oh, yeah. No
Yeah.
problem.
Sun fans hate us.
yeah, but the
Which
feeling's
one is
mutual,
cost
isn't it?
effective?
Yeah, so if you do want to do your own, you can use like the Mylar space blanket stuff with some. You have to find the right type of pad, and what I found is weather stripping, open cell weather stripping pad works pretty good. It's just some spray adhesive on the Mylar, lay down the weather stripping, and then punch them out using a little punch. And those have worked well for me so far. But the key is finding the right foam. I experimented with 4 or 5 different foams, but there's kits out there as well. I forget who's selling them, but for 20 or 40 bucks, I think you can get a whole pad rekit. So
Half the fun for me is trying to do it myself. So I'll probably
trying to what?
Trying to do it myself. So
Yeah. So the Mylar space blankets and foam and spray adhesive does a pretty good job of mimicking it.
We could do a whole How I Made episode on this.
I tried that once, and I got that blanket was stuck on all my fingers, and the glue got everywhere.
Yeah, spray adhesive is not fun to work with. You just have to make sure it dries. And
it all sounds like too much. Too much like
use
hard
Super
work.
77 and spray it lightly on the foam. The hardest thing is to make sure it stays flat when you're putting the foam onto it. So I couldn't find sheet foam, but I found I was using is about a ½ inch wide or just slightly larger than that weather stripping foam. But it needs to, all of them will work, but you really want to look for the black open cell ones. That way the keys aren't as stiff. And then you have to get the right thickness. And I want to say it was like 4 millimeters. I have to go back and compare, but you just pull out one of the old ones, play with it a little bit if that's what you want to do, and it'll work.
Yep.
You
Is
can
that one
save
of the
some
Sun
keyboards
keyboards there, Roy? That's it's not the 3 and it's not the 5. It's definitely the 4.
I can't remember. I have to go back and measure some.
It's written on the back.
The actual thickness is? Did not know that.
Yeah, so what's the plan for that? Actually, what I was going to say was some years ago, I made a video, one of my usual craptastic videos of how I used a kit from Germany to refoam the keyboard. They come pre-punched, and the way I did it was carefully transfer the little discs from the old keyboard to the new one after you clean the old foam off, and that worked pretty well. Though you've got to make sure that you center them properly on the pad, otherwise you get sticking and other problems. But we could.
I think there's an 8-bit guy video on this, like the IBM video or something with 8-bit guy.
Yeah.
One thing to look for when you're rebuilding your Model 2 keyboard, see if you have one of the ultra rare Cherry keyboards. Almost all of the keyboards you'll find out there are Keytronic.
That's definitely.
But there are a few. Cherry actually manufactured some of them. I have one. It's the only one I've ever seen. So if you ever find one,
how can you tell?
All mine.
How can you tell?
You open them up.
No, there's a way to tell from the keys itself. The Cherries have round periods for the colon and the period, whereas the Keytronics have squares. That's one way to tell. Or
I thought
maybe vice versa. But and then of course inside you'll see on the circuit board itself it'll say Cherry, if it's a Cherry.
At first, I thought you meant the really clicky keyboards of today. I was like, "What? Those are pretty common."
No, Cherry, the company had to start somewhere, and they did as a OEM for Radio Shack, obviously.
Yeah.
As did a lot of companies.
So a few people did reach out to me and said they had some projects they wanted to show off. Anybody here want to raise your hand and talk about a project that you're working on and showcase it?
I guess I'll start. I have to apologize for having low bandwidth, so my audio and video might be a little choppy.
We don't see any video.
Perfect. It's completely.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
We can see you, Peter.
We can see you, Peter. giving us the death stare.
Okay. Anyway,
He's connecting quad.
One of the things that I did in 2018, or that the second to the last one of the Tandy assemblies, was that I made a little voice synthesizer for my Model 100 or 102, using the old General Instruments chip that is kind of similar to the Votrax one. So that was kind of fun. And I kind of wish that I was able to see that one live meeting that you had a few of them back, where the guy was talking about the other synthesizer, the more modern synthesizers that they have. But it's kind of fun because it sounds like, you know, the old, really old voice, the old voice sound here. So like.
Hello to all you trash talkers out there. This is a Model 100 speaking to you using a blabbermouth voice box.
I called it a blabbermouth, so.
I call it the Votrax. I call that the Votrax voice.
It reminds me of the arcade game Berserk, kind of.
Yeah, a little bit. The Votrax voice and the General Instruments, which eventually got spun off into being Microchip. General Instruments, a bunch of people from General Instruments, they took the little embedded microprocessor that they used in their UART chips, and they started Microchip. And then, so then basically they started just selling just the little microprocessor, and over the years and decades, it's expanded to being more and more involved. But that was kind of an interesting chip. So as opposed to using something that was more conventional sounding, I wanted to try to go back to the old original sound that would have been period. But unfortunately, they are so rare to find anymore that I can't really make more than one or two of them. I just have a couple of spares. So unfortunately, it's nothing that I'd be able to sell. It hooks onto the Model 100 or the 102 printer port. So actually, anything that uses a Centronics printer port, it'll work. I have a little adapter cable that'll hook up to the IBM PC. So it's just sort of unfortunate the chips are hard to find. Otherwise, it could be a nice little portable product, because it is battery operated.
Could you use an FPGA, like a little?
What was that?
Could you use an FPGA to reproduce the chip?
You probably could, but I found a bunch of them, and at one time some guy was selling them. But then I found out also that there were people selling them on eBay that were they were re-stamped. This is the AL2, which is the general purpose one. They made a couple of different variants. One of them was used. Radio Shack used to sell one of them. It was, I think, the Os9 variant, and it was set up to only speak not by phonemes, but pre-recorded certain words that would be useful if you were making a talking clock or a talking DBM or something like that. So and then Microchip, they actually sold them under their with the Microchip logo on the IC itself. But there's been so many fakes that have been coming out of China that just like Mab was saying, some of these chips that you need are just impossible to find at a decent price, and they're not just in the mainstream anymore. So you might find a few of them here or find a few of them there.
Restricts your ability to try and make a consistent releasable product.
Yeah, but anyway, the other thing that I made was I took a standard a solderless breadboard, and I put on it, just replaced one of the sections with kind of a breakout board. So basically, I can hook any of the ports of this computer up to it, and then I've got the little jumper wires that I can clamp onto the thing. So that makes it makes it kind of easy if you were like prototyping something.
Mhm.
So I prototyped the voice synthesizer with this, and then the other thing that I just recently finished was a little box that's it's an Atari Joystick interface, so that it plugs into the model 100 or 102 bus. This one here is set up for a 102 or 200. It's got the external connection that looks like this. But then I have an adapter cable that goes from this to the DIP 40 type of connection that's on the 100. So that has increased my my scores on some of the very few games that actually exist for the 100 and the 102. Almost all of the ones that I've been able to find on the old CompuServe SIG or the Model 100 websites stuff were almost all written in BASIC. So they're relatively easy to adapt because all the thing has in it is a to D and a 8-port binary interface. So the binary is just to catch the key switches from the joystick, and then the A to D catches the pot that's on the paddle control. So it does make getting higher scores on your games possible. But I would really like to see a copy of one of the later Radio Shack catalogs that index all the available software, not just the stuff that they sold, but the stuff that you could order through them or otherwise just know that it exists. That would be really handy to see if there really were any games that were made for that, for the old slab tops there, as Josh calls them.
A joystick for the Model 100. That's sweet.
Peter, you're muted.
Oh, am I muted? Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. I just said that I wish I would have known about some of the other I've been missing a lot of the meetings because I don't do the normal social media, so it just kind of overloads. I don't like to be that connected. So
there's something to be said for that, I've got to admit.
Yeah, you should start your BBS or something.
Yeah, there are a couple of BBSs that do exist for some of the stuff, but I don't know what they store on them. I mean, the old BBS systems were mostly just to download stuff for free. And then a lot of people started implementing an upload-download ratio. So then what you would do is you would take your existing programs, give them a different name, upload them, just so that you could get a higher ratio so you could download something. But as far as messaging, I've never used one for messaging back in the days. So I got my first computer when I was 22 and I was home and leave in the Air Force. I got my first Model 1. But yeah, I was just kind of surprised that this announcement here for this meeting actually had call-in numbers. Is that how people would do it from their modern smartphones or something?
Yeah. All Zoom meetings, you can do an audio call-in as well. They'll have phone numbers to call in.
Oh, okay, because I was thinking, I don't think any of this video stuff would make it on a standard old ISDN dial-up or something like that. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I'll have to make sure we put future announcements. I'll log into my old CompuServe account. Maybe it's still working. I'll post there. Anybody running a BBS, make sure you get announcements up there for the next Trash Talk Live.
All right. New idea, TRS-80 Trash Talk BBS. There you go. Copyright it.
Are you volunteering?
Running on a Model 4 out of New York.
Well, Neil Blanchard, you've got some BBSs running, don't you?
Yeah, I'm running Internal Affairs BBS. It's running the old DOS Renegade software. That's still running. So I'll put the ads up there if you guys want. There's a bunch of Coco users that use it. So, but it's all ANSI graphics. So I don't know. Your terminal has to support that.
Good to hear from you, Neil. What else are you doing these days?
I'm doing Gamester joysticks, arcade joysticks, and also producing Coco cartridges. So basically, I publish games for other people. Like I don't code, but I do all the hardware. and it's turning out pretty nice. So it helps everybody out.
That's good. It's a popular product.
Yeah, it's fun too. You know, kept me busy during the lockdown here. So
I like when my products are popular. I don't like when they're too popular because
then
you can spend a lot of time on them.
Right.
There's something about cartridges, you know, that tangible thing you can hold in your hand.
Yeah.
And collect and it's just it's different than just downloading software. I wish we had it for the monochrome machines.
And they last the test of time.
Yeah.
I heard you can sell off, Bernoulli cartridges for that there, Peter.
Well, yeah. For all 3 people that have working Bernoulli drives out there.
The Coco cartridges in their little silver cardboard things do look good on the shelf. I got to say that. I have a rather large number of them.
Who else? Who else has a project they want to talk about?
I reckon Michael Rowan does.
No projects in the works. No.
Well, you all know me with the Epic Model 3 restore. I've been posting about it and posting about it and posting about it. So,
Any day now it'll be complete, hey?
Yeah. Any day now. Actually, I just shipped off the board to who was it? Either Jay Newworth or
I think Jay's here. He was here a moment ago.
His audio
Jay, speak up.
isn't working.
Jay.
I think I either wait. See, now there's so many things I have to keep track of everybody. I think wait 1 second. I think I shipped off the key. I think he'll know if he shows up.
He's around. He's probably testing some computer stuff.
Well, Jay posted earlier that he didn't have audio for this.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's.
Or no, I sent the board to Patrick Bureau, TTR.
Yep.
Yeah.
People normally send the boards to Jay to get fixed, and then the case to Patrick to get painted.
Yeah. Well, my case unfortunately has a little bit of damage around the disk drive area. It's like chipping, which is not good at all. I don't know how to get a repro case made for it, but yeah.
You just keep an eye out for a manky looking busted.
You're on mute.
On eBay, and you'll end up with a decent case that way. I can't see how the chipping has actually occurred on your one. Did someone try to remove the disk drive without taking the case off?
Yeah, I got it like that.
Show us the picture again. That's what it looks like.
Here, you want to see it?
Yeah, it looks like somebody tried to chisel it out or something.
Someone's tried to chisel the disk drive out without opening the computer.
Chiseled.
I've never seen that.
Just do a project with a faceplate that'll cover it. Accident.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who else on here is new that hasn't spoken for a while? How about Jove? What are you up to?
Not a whole lot.
No? Okay. Thanks.
All right. Well, yeah, that's better. Now it's unmuted. So I got my first tanning machine about 2 months ago. Somebody a couple hours from here posted on Vintage Computer Forums about, it's going to e-waste. And that's how I got my hands on a Tandy 3. Got it up and running. It moved along. Now I've got a 4 that I've been fighting with VSync on that I'm sure you guys have all read the thread on. I have recapped, resistored, repotted everything to that video board 3 times over. And I think I finally found the part that's wrong.
Joe, can you turn down your...
Tandy 3 or Model 3?
Tandy 3.
Oh.
In the white case, that's one of Peter's favorite machines.
Most beautiful paint job of all the TRS-80s.
Yeah.
Wait, what's the difference between the Tandy 3 and the Model 3?
White paint job.
It was it was meant to be like a sold for third party reselling, but it had a beautiful glossy white paint job.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How's the condition, Joe, of that paint on that 1083? Is it nice?
It was used. It was definitely used quite a bit. I'm sorry, Ian. Am I very loud for you?
Can you turn your tone control down a little bit? I didn't mean you have to mute yourself, but
It's habit from work. I leave it on mute unless I press the button. My input level is all the way down.
okay.
Really? It's all the way
It's real
down.
hot. Yeah, it's
We
really
don't
hot,
believe
yeah.
you. You're
It's hot enough to distort a bit, actually.
Your control's upside down, buddy.
We can
Sounds like he has
tell
a
you
mic
some
switch.
resistors, okay?
Was that an Australian joke?
Well, let's just make this clear. That's a green screen behind you, isn't it? Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I'm not in Houston.
So I'll just say, as a Coco guy, when I hear Tandy 3, my brain wants to insert color computer between Tandy and 3. So I had
That's
to
exactly
think
what
about
mine
that
did. I
for
don't
a
know
second.
why.
Jay Rounceville, tell us about your VGA adapter.
Well, I can't really demo it, but it's about ready to ship. I've got the second version of the boards done, and I've got a list of folks that have expressed interest. So,
Is your favorite
top of that list?
Sorry.
Is your favorite arcade game Joust?
Actually, it's not. My favorite arcade game is Galaga, but
Mine's Donkey Kong, actually.
I apologize for cutting in, but what kind of hardware did you use to generate VGAs?
What
kind of hardware did you use to generate your VGAs? I've been messing around with bit-bang VGA.
It's an FPGA board. It was the cheapest FPGA board that I could find that looked like it would do the job. And there's a little demo board, very tiny demo board that has almost nothing on it. Just has the JTAG interface and like a regulator, and then it just takes all the pins and sticks them out to the bus or out to the pins on the outside.
That's pretty cool. I need to learn.
Or EP4 CE something. And so I built a daughter board for it that completes the rest of it and turns it into a VGA adapter. It's a Cyclone 4 series FPGA. First time I did any FPGA coding. I'd never done Verilog or VHDL or anything, so it was a bit of a learning experience.
Well, it sounds like you didn't have too much trouble with it.
Yeah, I have an E10 Nano. Have you ever heard of that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Jay, how does your board connect to the Model 3?
So I have it set up. I only have a Model 4. I don't have a Model 3. So it looks like when you look at the schematics for the Model 3, it should work. I just don't have a way to test it. But it needs a dot clock pin. So that's the only thing that's kind of a question mark. The dot clock is literally brought to the J10 header on the Model 4. So you can literally just plug right into a header that's already there for it. I think on the Model 3, you might have to find what chip is carrying the dot clock, which is, I think when I was looking at the schematics, it looked like it might be like a shift, might be labeled as shift or something like that as opposed to dot clock. But somebody will need to find that for me so we can prove for sure that it definitely works on the Model 3, but I think it does.
Okay, if I share a picture of it?
Sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do the thing with the LEDs along the side. That was sort of a debugging thing that I needed when I was designing it. They kind of just sit there and do almost nothing now. So all it's really doing is adding cost to the board. So.
It's got that card connector on the right, and that's familiar to anyone who's opened up a Model 3 or Model 4. connects to that card connector connects to that same connector on the analog video board. So this would be a replacement for that video system, right?
Yep. And Peter, I think you mentioned that it would be nice if it had slots or holes there to use it for a Model 2 or something. So I went ahead and did that.
Mm-hmm. Well, the solar
hack that or not? Does it work with beam hacking or not?
I didn't catch what you said. Sorry.
Is it how does it can you do some of the stuff like George has done with the raster beam, or is it just pulling the video memory and displaying it?
It's not doing anything with memory. It's literally taking the analog signal in from the screen. It only, if I could figure out a good way to not use the dot clock, I'd get rid of that too. But so far, I need the dot clock to keep everything synchronized. One of these days, I'll get some time to sit down and come up with some way of oversampling the H-sync or something, and I'll come up with a different approach. But right now, it needs the dot clock. So
cool.
Other than that, it's all analog.
So are you actually scan doubling that in the FPGA, or is it outputting like 15 kilohertz?
Well, what it's doing is it's using the onboard RAM in the Cyclone 4, and it's using the dot clock and the H-sync to figure out boundaries and everything, and it's bringing in a line at a time and dumping it into the onboard RAM. And then there's a separate clock that's onboard that is just sitting there scanning RAM continuously and displaying that on the VGA, building a proper VGA signal and displaying that. So there is, like, there's some little math trick or something that's going on there to get the doubling effect, because it's not, you don't have 640 by 480, you've got whatever the Model 4 resolution was. So there's like a doubling thing that it's doing on the VGA side, where it's where it's grabbing the pixels. It's going, oh well, divide by 2 or something to get it to fit into a 640 by 480 screen. And then the dip switches on there are for controlling the background color and foreground color of the text. So it doesn't, it's not programmable or anything. You can't tell it to change colors or anything like that, but you can set those dip switches so you can have it whatever color you want on the VGA monitor.
That's pretty cool.
So we can have color now.
Kind of. Like, it's got to be one color and it stays whatever you set it to.
I'm sure there's quite a few.
Come out?
What was that?
When's it ready to come out?
Well, I'm waiting for a few more of these Cyclone 4 boards. I ordered about a dozen of them. So I've got one left on the bench, and I don't want to send that one out. So as soon as I get those in, I'll start batching them up and selling them to the folks in the order that they responded to me on the Discord channel, I guess.
Yeah.
Would you be able to use this with the internal monitor simultaneously?
It's a really good question. The whole reason I built the thing was because I got a Model 4 in the mail, and the CRT got damaged, broke the neck off of it. So I built this thing so I'd have a way to use the thing. So I don't have a way to know for sure if it would work or not. You might be able to plug this adapter into the amp connector and then use those little headers. You can see them on the right there at the bottom corner. Use those little headers and run wires out of those and run them to the CRT, and it may do both at the same time. I don't know because I don't have a way to test it.
The signals that go into the analog port are all TTL level, aren't they? You could probably buffer them or something.
I didn't catch that.
If the motherboard can't source enough current, those are all TTL level signals. Okay? Going into the video analog port, you could probably buffer them or something.
Yeah, I don't know for sure if it would work or not. I mean, the very first thing that happens when these signals come in is there's a buffer underneath this board to drop everything down to 3.3 volts and everything. So I haven't tried to measure current draw or anything. I have no idea, whether it would work with a CRT at the same time. But it might. It'd be worth trying.
It's a cool project.
Yep.
Definitely looking forward to testing that out.
Coming soon.
It's going to extend the life of our TRS-80s in perpetuity.
Yeah, and this will make a good troubleshooting tool, right? So if you want to eliminate the monitor out of the situation, eliminate the CRT driver, just make, when you want to focus on the circuitry, this will let you know, like, hey, everything video-wise is fine.
Yep.
A lot easier than taking apart another Model 4 and holding it sideways and plugging that in to see if its screen works. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man, I love doing that.
And just general bench testing of a Model 3 or Model 4, you don't have to have that whole top assembly with the CRT on the side there. You can just have a small little LCD monitor and get so much of your bench space back. So
That's what I did. I got a 12-inch flat screen LCD that's used for like a security system or something like that. I found it real cheap online. I think I'm going to mount that in my case and plug this in. So
Yeah, prevent the sore neck from looking at it to the side when you're trying to.
very cool.
Cool.
Anyone else wanted to raise a...
Hey, Ira, what's going on with your site?
Just updating it where I can.
Yeah.
Based a lot on what I see on Facebook or on the Discord or other things.
Thank you for those books, by the way. I was messaging you about that. Yeah.
How many views we up to? About 10 million? How many views we up to now? About 10 million?
I don't know, 1 million?
100 million?
1 million.
It's still a lot considering how many of those machines are out in the field.
Well, yeah, when there's something to add, I add it.
Are you still getting regular
disc requests?
Consignments of discs arriving that need no, it's dropped off a bit.
They dropped off, yeah, which is not great because I'm also trying to work with Quentin to make sure his Catweasel software is up and running and to test it. And if I don't get consignments of discs, I can't really do that.
Yeah. I've seen in the software search. So have you added entries for software you don't have yet? Is that
yes.
Yeah, because I was looking through old 80 micros and find obscure software titles. So then I punch it into the search, and I see it in red that it's there. So that's to be filled as it shows up.
Yeah, I never really wanted to put a don't really have it software because I didn't want people to think it was an exhaustive list.
Yeah.
Then when I was going through all these magazines and cutting out the ads so that I could have those available, because those links are all live next to the software, I figured I should start putting them in. It actually started with me trying to make a list of all the Radio Shack stuff I don't have, because people like, I don't know, Ian seems to have a bunch of stuff that I don't have. And I just expanded that to be anything I found that I didn't have.
Yeah. It's because I don't have enough time that it's very slow. There's stuff that comes from it, but it's sitting there in a pile. So it's not lost. But I wonder how much of this stuff that got advertised for maybe 2 or 3 issues of 80 micro and then disappeared is just lost to time that we'll never find again.
You never know. I've gotten some recent sets that have added 2 or 3 missing titles, and Kyle has been showing up with quite a bit of stuff that's on my missing list, actually.
Software or like books, like
software and manuals.
Oh, there's those. There's a website out there. I think it's like the biggest list of TRS-80 software, and it's got like 5,000 titles of ROM images, and it's all the way down. It's like in one page. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it. It's like willis.com or something. WILLUS.
Yeah. It would have taken, that's my old library, but he made it in such a way that you can actually run it straight from the website.
Well, the 8-inch business has been pretty popular. This is my inbox.
Wow. What's the story with all the people messing around with the 8-inch drives? I've seen it on the Discord chat. Like,
Yeah, that reminds me of war games a lot, like the IMSI 8800.
Yeah, I mean, but these are all TRS-80 Model 2 discs. I'm getting people asking me to, recover software or digitize their old 8-inch discs for them. So it's an ongoing thing. I'm happy to do it. I enjoy doing it. It's almost
you,
a zen thing for me. Unless they're old Tandy discs, then I get all pissed off.
Fantastic Tandy media.
They flake off. I got to clean my heads every read.
Speaking of 8-inch disk drives, have any of you ever tried installing a switch to turn off the mains current to the spindle motor in I guess it's an SA800 in the Model 2? I'm going to be using a Gotek most of the time, but I don't want to take the thing out, and I don't want to make it a bunch of noise or wearing out prematurely or anything.
All you have to do is take out the fuse in the back.
Oh, yeah, I guess I could do that. I thought about putting a switch on the front so I could turn it on and off if I wanted to read discs or something.
Yeah, a wire switch to that circuit. That fuse is just for the AC motor on the drive. So.
Hey Pete, where is your dining table now?
My dining table? This is not my dining room.
Thank God.
That would be cool if it was. You should have just.
I don't think his wife would agree.
I'd be a single man.
It sort of looks like my dining table.
Fortunately,
Oh, hey, Aaron,
his
good to hear
wife's
from
not
you.
in on the chat.
Just think, though, if you were single, your whole house could look like that. Wouldn't that be something?
It would.
So you can't tell it's the man cave with all the plumbing from the ceiling. It's truly the basement cave.
Last year I had a leak down here, right off that pipe at the top. It wasn't the sewer; it was the supply going to a bathroom up there. And luckily, it was right on top of that opening there, and it dripped straight down. It didn't get on any of my machines or any of my software. I was very lucky. I try to cover things in plastic when I'm not going to be around for more than a few days. Just in case.
I think there was about like 2 or 3 years ago, we had a flood in our basement. We had about 6 inches of water because we live on a hill, and it snowed. We're in Wisconsin, so it snowed like 8 inches, and our basement wall broke, and it just started seeping in. It was bad. We had everything in plastic bins, so it was good.
I do all this kind of stuff on the second floor for exactly that reason.
Yeah.
Well, there's breaking news with Radio Shack making an online comeback that evidently they're exerting some protection of the Radio Shack itself, their trademark. But Ken Bruckner seemed to indicate on Discord he didn't think it was going to go any deeper than that.
No way. Let's celebrate.
No, Radio Shack coming back is not good for the community, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it depends on how far they go. If they really want to push their perceived ownership of, say, software copyrights, potentially they could try to take down public archives of the software.
Oh, yeah.
We're pretty sure that whoever owned the current Radio Shack entity does not own any of those software copyrights, but that may not stop them from attempting to litigate it and just send out threatening emails and have people take down things that maybe legally they don't have to, but it just could become a real mess.
Yeah, because I don't think most of us could afford the lawyers to defend that if it ever got to that point.
That's why we
I
all
don't think they would do it.
We all stand as one.
It would probably put Mav out of business too.
No, they're just not let me back in your country.
That doesn't say Radio Shack on that shirt, does it, Mav? They might come back.
I bought the shirt from you guys, so.
Oh, you're both in trouble now.
That's right.
What Radio Shack? As he pulls out his spray can, he goes.
Yeah, I tried to get one of those online T-shirt places to make me a T-shirt for the first candy assembly, or actually the second one that I attended. And basically, all I did was I just took a picture of my Model 100, cleaned up the edges a little bit and stuck it on there as the graphic. And I got an email back from them saying, we can't do that because it looks like it's copyrighted information. And so I told them, well, the Tandy or Radio Shack that you think this represents is no longer in business. And I got another response back saying that, well, somebody owns it someplace, so you have to get permission first, and then we'll be more than happy to make your T-shirt.
They just put it in the too hard basket.
Well, the company I got this from didn't seem to care, so.
So you Photoshop it to say Radio Schlock, and you're good, right?
Yeah, or Patio Shack or something like that, maybe.
Patio
Yeah.
Shack.
Either that or just sort of blur it a little bit so it's not really quite readable. I think I've seen that done in a few places on the internet.
Yeah. You get the shirt off Alibaba.
Ironically, Tandy used to send people to my site in the later days when they kept getting calls.
Really? Wow.
So for those of you that don't know this, a lot of you do, but I think it was 1992, Tandy sold their computer manufacturing and apparently all of their intellectual property related to the computers to AST.
Yeah,
right?
Even though you probably, when you said, I know most of you don't know this, you probably only meant me. Since I was born in 2003.
And then apparently AST was then taken over by Samsung. There was a lot of drama behind that. So as far as we know, Samsung owns the IP to say, the Tandy portions of the ROMs, the system software, maybe the diagnostics, documentation, any games that were published under Tandy Radio Shack is most likely owned by Samsung. But I highly doubt Samsung even knows that they own it, or it's tucked away in some file cabinet.
Knows, cares,
Yeah.
Well, Radio Shack on their current website does sell some T-shirts that have the TRS-80 logo and the original font on them, don't they? I guess nobody
did a few months back when I looked. I haven't looked recently though.
They probably get them made in the Far East.
Yeah, I've seen them on their website, and I ordered one myself, and they sent it to me.
I think that was the prior iteration.
Okay.
Ones that were friendly, the ones that reached out to sponsor Tandy Assembly and all that. I don't think that's these guys.
Got it. Sure. Yeah, it's right. They were bought over by venture capitalists, a new group, right, with some other brands.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at the page, and they have trending products, and two of the 6 products are Radio Shack T-shirts.
They should make reproduction Model 1.
Don't see that.
they're just squeezing the last remaining drops of blood out of the Radio Shack legend.
There's an apparel section, and there's actually, it looks like 12 shirts, one showing a computer. Yep, the Shack is back. Oh. Wonder if Shaquille will go after him. Oh, there's a Coco.
They must have purchased a license for that somewhere.
Yeah, there's actually a Coco badge T-shirt.
Okay.
Here, I'll put this out in the chat if anybody's interested.
Somebody should reach out to them, try to do a project with them. If they're doing all that stuff, I don't know.
I'm waiting for a Xenix Model 16 T-shirt. I'm sorry.
Hey, they got a Battery Club card T-shirt. There you go.
I actually want my Battery Club card back. That's what I want.
No free batteries for you.
Probably better to
Battery
not
Club?
reach out to them.
Yeah, I agree.
What?
Let's not reach out to them.
Yeah.
Nah.
Looks like a lot of this stuff is
Totally great
mentioning.
not to reach out to them.
Looks like a lot of this stuff is mentioning the Young Sheldon show that's had a lot of the Tandy stuff in it.
That makes sense.
That's their angle, I guess.
No, they're
I would
actually
totally put
capturing our
Sheldon.
IP. What?
I would have totally put Sheldon as a Coco 3 owner, but
Yeah, that's what I would have done.
What they're really doing is capturing everybody's IPs that's accessing this page now, and they're going to hunt you down.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, why did I click your link?
Hey, Pete, where did you see that Radio Shack is starting to get aggressive about enforcing their trademark or copyright
Well,
stuff?
we have one member of the community, Patrick. Patrick Bureau. He was selling some Radio Shack branded items on, was it Etsy or one of those websites?
One of those, yeah.
And they asked him to take it down. Well, they asked the website to take it down, and they had to take it down.
He was selling retro badges, right, to replace broken ones.
Yep, and it because it said Radio Shack on it. They're going after Radio Shack right now.
Well, Boise and I made the reproduction Tandy, color computer badges, but we got those authorized by the current holder of Tandy. So,
yeah, the current holder of Tandy is different than the current holder of Radio Shack too. That's two totally
absolutely
different.
yes,
Yeah,
right.
But
That's right.
Just to make things simple.
So just don't put Radio Shack in anything you decide to sell or create. I definitely would not do that.
Patio Shack. That's what you need to do.
No, Mike. Did they sound like they're fairly open at the Tandy? The person that holds the Tandy trademarks and stuff. Did they sound fairly open to making arrangements like that, or?
yeah, we didn't have much problem. All they recognize hobbyists and and what we're doing. So.
And promotes their brand too, since they own the brand now. So.
But they've had to do takedowns as well. It's just people that just go out and make stuff without any consideration for it. But if you get permission, you're going to be okay, I think. And the Tandy side.
How did you find a contact point to get permission?
Well, we actually interviewed them on our podcast, so we had
as if
track them down.
And they're based in the UK too, aren't they?
Yes.
Which is not where I would have expected Tandy to go, but the Tandy trademark. Anyway.
Yeah, they should have been located in Texas.
Actually, I just did a whois search on the domain name radioshack.com, and the registrar is in the UK. But everything else is redacted, so for privacy reasons, kind of interesting. So try whois radioshack.com.
Where in the UK? Just
Doesn't say. There's the registrar is called comload.com.
It's nice to see you, Arno. Happy New Year. Are you back teaching at the university, or are classes down due to COVID?
Yeah, it's been an interesting year for sure. I have not had much time for pet projects. We're still virtual. In California, we're still going to be virtual for the spring semester. So they announced they will go back face-to-face supposedly in the fall. But been an interesting shift.
I don't know. I'm curious because you're running the program there, right? At San Francisco State.
Well, I'm the department chair. I'm just trying to.
So are you going to introduce some Z80 assembly language classes? Right?
Well, hardware classes are of course part of the curriculum, but the colleagues who are teaching it are they prefer CPUs or architectures that use MMUs. So the simple 8-bit architectures. I tried to convince my colleague to use Arduino, the Atmel chips, but he said no. He wants to teach some MMUs, which you can understand. Sure.
Yeah,
it's probably
we're using Arduino right now in Python. Does anybody what?
Yeah, so no Z80. I think my colleague would just laugh at me if I suggested that.
Go for the Z280. It's got the MMU.
Yeah, okay.
Is it does any modern applications use like COBOL or Fortran or any of those like Pascal languages anymore?
Doubt it.
Doubt it.
Yeah, not that I know of.
Oh, Fortran for sure. One of our customers deals with nuclear safety. They're still actively writing their analysis codes in Fortran.
Oh, really?
And it wouldn't surprise me at all if there were still business sites that used COBOL, unfortunately.
Yes,
a lot of,
yeah, mainframes.
Banks and insurance companies use COBOL all the time still.
Yeah, a lot of local and central government in the UK still use a lot of COBOL. They're forever advertising for people who can convert it to one of the more modern languages.
Convert it to anything else.
And there are some places that are running old legacy COBOL that don't even have the source code anymore. I've worked at a place like that. So they just have to keep it running the way it is and write adapters around it because they didn't have the source code anymore for some of their core systems. So
Well, how do they deal with the Y2k issue?
I was just going to mention that it's awesome when you get a contract and you go into a place and you find out that that's the state of their code base, right?
There was a big craze again in local and central government for running PIC systems, and there was a lot of conversion work from COBOL to run on Databasic, which is the PIC brand. They were maybe running, if I remember, on McDonnell Douglas hardware, but as I say, that was a few years ago now.
Well, the TRS-80 Model 2 supports all of these languages. So
Yeah, you have them all in the archive, right? COBOL, Fortran, Pascal, all of them.
yeah. Just spend a lifetime learning legacy computer languages on the Model 2 and still get a job.
Yeah.
That's somebody got a Model 2 to work.
That's what we need. Is a 280 card for the Model 2.
Yeah, what kind of job could you get if you only know COBOL, Pascal, and BASIC? Like, pretty much nothing.
I mean,
no, that's not.
Dude, computer museum. Come on.
Computer museum. Yeah.
If you know
Legacy
COBOL,
data recovery.
If you know COBOL, you can still get a six-figure job in the Midwest.
Yeah, it depends if you have a computer science degree or not. That would make a difference.
There's quite a few adverts on LinkedIn for COBOL programmers. I mean, I'm 73 and I'm still getting people. The bank, no, it was some firm in Canada wrote to me, not emailed me about 6 months ago about a job. You know, tired, and I'm not going to start work again. Being retired is like being a teenager, but you've got money.
Yeah, but those headhunters contacting you does not guarantee getting a job.
COBOL development system for the Model 16 right here.
Oh yeah, look at that.
So you're ready, Peter, to write next year's game entry in COBOL on the Model 16?
In COBOL.
Games in COBOL, yeah.
I'll bring my 8-inch floppy disk to an interview. They'll love me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll see that and go, "You're hired."
Yeah. What is your job experience? Well, I know a little bit of COBOL. Where can I start? You know.
So Pete, that Model 16 COBOL then requires a Model 16. The compiler runs under the 68,000, not the Z80.
That one is for, is this one for Xenix or Tristos 16? This is for Xenix.
Okay, then.
No, sorry. This is Tristos 16, yep.
Yeah, there were COBOL packages for the Model 1 and 3 as well.
Yes. COBOL and Fortran and Pascal and Forth. Forth was
and C
for a while. And
C. Yeah, I use C.
I'm trying to code a Pac-Man clone in coding class right now. That's based in C, so it's coming along.
You know,
Let us know when you get it running on your Model 3.
Yeah, my Model 3 is still in the grave, but it will soon rise from the dead.
I was on a Zoom call for work the other day, and there was a little downtime in the meeting. People were just chatting, and hobbies came up, and I mentioned that, hey, I collect and program old vintage computers, and I'm like, oh wow, what kind of computers? I said, TRS-80, you ever heard of it? Silence. 25 people on the call, nobody's heard of a TRS-80. Like,
really?
Am I getting old?
Yeah, I tend to get more interest in the digital stuff than the Tandy for work people. Yeah, they don't know what it is.
Yeah, my dad's first computer wasn't even a TRS-80. His was like a Macintosh Classic back in like '87.
Yeah, well, it's called retro for a reason.
Now I feel really old.
I think it was said earlier, most of us were between like 8 and 15 when we got started in it. Look at where we're at now. We're old.
Yeah, and now you're seeing basically you, 40. I don't know what would you call it?
Old people.
Yeah, well,
old is right.
who's the youngest person in this call besides me?
I think it's you.
Yeah, who's the youngest person like out of all of you besides me?
The next one's like double your age.
Okay, yeah.
Probably Bobby.
Yeah,
I think he's
42
like
here.
right
Yeah,
at
34.
Yeah, my dad's.
I was
My
30, I was 32 when I got my first Model 1, 1979. Oh.
I was about 28.
But you know what? Programming these old TRS-80s, and my day job, I program modern languages, microservice architectures, highly scalable, this and that, and it keeps me sharp. It keeps me grounded in what computer science is and what the computer is doing, because we program at so many levels of virtualization and abstraction today.
Yeah, I completely
go back to
agree
the
with
metal.
that.
It keeps it grounded.
That's like all this hardware stuff I've been doing the last couple years. I hadn't done any hardware stuff before, and I love it because it actually has this weird sideways impact that all the architecture stuff that I do for my real job, it's like grounded, and I have to think more logically, or it forces me to think more logically than I otherwise would. So.
Yeah.
But Peter, I totally agree. I mean, one thing I can see that kids no longer understand how the machine works on the inside.
Yep.
I remember when I told a student, do you realize that you can create a memory leak in Java? And he looks at me, but why? Isn't there a garbage collector?
It's all magic at some point, sadly. Yes.
I feel like I'm one of the special ones, the ones that are gonna carry this on. I don't know.
Well, that's why Dusty and I have basically settled on the yearly competition being one related around programming, as opposed to other things that have run through our minds. And hopefully, Ian, you'll get your machine running in time for the next competition. And a lot of the people that enter the competitions are actually professional high-level language processors, but they like the idea of trying to work in 16 or 32K of memory and monochrome or limited graphics and things like that. So the year upon year, we've been getting more and more entries. So
there's a charm to vintage computers. Like when you turn it on, there's no notifications. You can't click anything. It's just that's what you get, and you gotta basically. It's right there. You just have to program it, which is what you wanted to do. So it's not.
Look how quickly they boot up, though, right? All that low-level infrastructure doesn't have to be loaded in, and
yeah, that's
when
what I
they
like.
crash, they don't do the checking that my Windows 7 box does for the next 18 minutes after it crashes and restarts.
Yeah.
And that's
unless you're running Xenix.
And speaking of the competition, there were some really great entries this year.
Yep. There were.
Oh yes, Vicious Vipers. Yeah, Kyle wrote a tremendous game.
It was
a hard game.
Yeah, it was good competition. I mean, there was a lot of really good entries.
You don't need freaking Wi-Fi to do it.
Yeah. Well, we need to get more saturation coverage of the existence of the competition in the Coco groups. So
yeah,
what do you think, Neil?
Yeah, that'd be a great idea.
Did you know we had a comp last year?
No, I had no idea.
Okay, I mentioned it a fair bit, but
we brought it up in Coco Talks. We tried to promote as much as we could.
Yeah.
And Septandy was a huge boon. I think there's a lot of Coco-centric stuff in Septandy this year that I know we saw a lot of new people coming in that we'd never seen before just because of that. So
yeah, Septandy was good this year.
So what do we want to see in 2021? Where should we focus the community? Is there anything we could be doing better as a community to keep us thriving? I think we're in a pretty good place.
Well, I
Stay
think
out
we
of-
should lower our expectations about whether we're going to be able to travel to these things.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but I have some people from the Tandy Assembly that I only see once a year, and I don't have many friends, so I really miss them. So anyway, that's by the by.
Neil,
we
what's
really need
running
to
in the
have
background?
Tandy Assembly this year, because otherwise I'll end up losing my airfare from last year. The airlines extended the COVID related cancellations out 1 year, so I've got to use it before the end of this year. So I hope that it actually happens.
Oh, right. The legislation here in Australia meant that as soon as they said no international travel, all previously bought tickets, which I had for my tickets to Tandy Assembly 2020, were instantly refunded. So we're sort of lucky from that perspective.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we didn't get refunded. We just sort of got a limited time credit. So if you don't use it within that time, then you lose it.
Some of us, man,
I'd choose a different airline next time.
Some of us can't even fly airlines.
What was
So,
that, Aaron?
So Pete, what are the plans then for Tandy Assembly 21? And are you going to do like a virtual component to it, just maybe learning from the experience here that we have right now? Allow more people to attend virtually?
We haven't started really, any detailed level of planning, but it's something to consider. Depending on what happens in the world, I guess.
Yeah.
What I'd really like to see this year, though, is, and I know this is going to sound like a criticism, but I'd like to see the rest of the videos shot at Tandy Assembly 19 that haven't been uploaded to be processed and uploaded at a regular time interval, just to, so there's something to see on the YouTube page for Tandy Assembly in the lead up to a potential 2021 event.
Yeah, we have a few more that we still need to publish.
Yeah, mainly ones with me in them.
I mean, one of the greatest things about retro computing in 2021 is the fact that the problems in the day we had with the media, and thinking about it, going back to cassettes that take 6 or 7 minutes to load a program and discs that just didn't last. You could now run George and Peter's emulator and all your media problems are dealt with immediately, and it makes a huge difference, you guys. You can't believe how easy you've made my life, certainly. I think that's fun. That's a nice thing about it, because we're waiting for a disc to crash or a cassette to fail or checking it with a question mark. It was a nightmare because you got your fingers crossed. Will it go through?
Yeah, there is a charm about using the old media, though, that you can't match with the new stuff.
Not really.
Really?
You're young, you'll learn,
When it's all working, yes.
When it's all working, it's
Make
fantastic.
him recover about 200 floppies, and he will become enlightened.
Cassette loading is a lot of fun, when the files aren't more than a few K long anyway.
Yeah. Well, I've had that experience. Like one of my first console was a Wii, and it's not really the same, but when the disc got scratched, I couldn't read them, so I would put them under the dishwasher. I would brush them with toothpaste and stuff, and I couldn't get them to work. It was a lot of. It's kind of, I don't know what you'd call it. It's a different problem, but it's also the same problem. It's like loading.
Yeah. Another thing we don't come across today, which is marvelous, the electric supply is much more reliable. I can remember working 2 hours on a program, and the damn computer, the fridge clicked in, and the damn computer fell over. Another 2 hours wasted.
Yep.
Yeah, Peter, to give my input on your question, like what should we focus on? One suggestion I have is try to do videos and don't feel that they need to be too complicated. Even simple beginner things are most helpful, says the person that spent an hour and a half hacking up like a adventure game in great detail. But try to get back to videos that are simple and kind of interesting. We have a lot of hardware ones, especially thanks to Mav, but there's not a whole lot of software. Like if somebody was trying to figure out how to work LDOS, like there's nothing on YouTube about that. So things like that, one suggestion for those that wish to contribute.
I would actually echo that because I'm not an original TRS-80 user. I picked this stuff up in the last couple of years, and learning how to use the DOSes and stuff has been like tricky.
I might have to look into that because I've got all the DOSes kind of committed to memory. So whenever I think, what do I need to make a video about, how to operate the operating system is not something that readily comes to mind. But you know, because I learned them so quickly so long ago, and basically, unlike a lot of you guys, I use these machines pretty much consistently from when I got them. So I never had a lull in the 90s through to now. I've always had one doing something here.
Yeah, like when I was trying to figure out the P drive command or whatever, that was a circus. It took me weeks to figure out how to use that properly.
I think one thing we do need to do is make beginners videos, because we're getting a lot of new people coming to the retro hobby, which we've got one person on here. It's definitely one of those.
Yeah.
And starting from scratch, I mean, most of us older people are people who've been around for a long time. Like you said, we've learned all this stuff before, and it's like muscle memory at this point. So we really need to start concentrating on beginner videos for people that are brand new to it.
Yeah, with me.
The TRS-80 platform, because the plethora of operating systems that are available on both the the 134 and the 216 line, there's so many options. It can be overwhelming. I could see it being overwhelming for someone coming compared to some of the other platforms where there's really just one or two operating systems to learn.
So I never had a whole lot of experience with the TRS-80, and just recently getting into it in the last 4 or 5 years. So I'm going to try to approach Xenix from the outside as a someone who's never used it before. Although I've been using it since I've got the 16 or 12, whatever you want to call it now, working. But yeah, I hope to get into at least Xenix and try to do it from a a beginner's perspective and try to walk through it, what it is, its history, some of the theory, anything that I can, to also teach myself about it, because I'm still learning about it, but it's I don't know. I don't even know the words to describe it. It's amazing.
The word is Xenix.
Xenix, yeah.
Xenix, yeah. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Zenith or Phoenix?
Xenix is kind of approachable because it's familiar for a lot of us who have used Linux and Unix, compared to something like LDOS, or NuDOS, I think.
Yeah.
And with George's and Peter's emulator, now people could actually run it. So if you did videos on it, they could try it out on the emulator.
Which emulator are you guys proposed?
You're asking which emulator do people prefer to use?
What do you guys like to use the most right now?
George Phillips, which is your favorite?
Yeah, I like TRS-80 GP. It does all right.
It's okay, isn't it?
I mean, it's the most comprehensive emulator for the TRS-80 line.
Absolutely.
You don't need another one.
That's what I use. Yeah.
Yep.
It's good.
So all we need is
next to you, and that's why I said that.
Yeah. All we need is it migrated to the Mister platform.
Yeah.
George and Peter pulled off several minor miracles getting that thing to work. It's very impressive.
I have 3 questions.
It even has electric crayon support.
What LDOS, for like a beginner, what LDOS should you start with?
The last one, 531.
Yeah, I agree.
No point trying to mess around with early versions of stuff. That there's enough variables in the computers to not introduce incompatibilities by using an early version of an operating system. It's like if you were to pull out a 386, would you put DOS 4 on it or DOS 6.22?
Yeah, and there's usually a reason they did the upgrade, so you want to keep up.
Can we direct Ian towards VTOS?
Yeah, that's right. Does that answer your question, Ian?
What programming language is most useful for what?
You've dropped out. Say that
Okay.
again.
What programming language for the TRS-80 is most useful for like making games, like COBOL or Pascal or Fortran or
Assembly.
80 assembly.
Yeah.
Or basic.
Or yeah, it depends on the type of game, I guess. Yeah.
Basic.
Basic kind.
You can
Yeah,
cross
Z,
compile.
Z80 assembly, and you want to use ZMac on a PC and load it, not
Yeah.
try to program it on a TRS-80.
Or even a hybrid where you can write a basic game with some assembly language subroutines if it's not, you know, a full-on arcade game or something.
That was my preferred way of programming back in the day because it allowed for quick output of programs. Just write it in BASIC and write assembly to speed up the slow bits or whatever. But ask Kyle Wadston what's the best language to program games in, because he's the current authority on monochrome gaming.
And what's everybody's favorite old computer sound? Like any old computer. The disk drive clicking.
Disk drive. Definitely.
The
I
sound
kind of like the hard drive seek noise. It sounded waterish.
Yeah, I like the sound of a reefer capacitor bursting and fizzing.
The smell is awesome.
And
Mine's going to show a cocoa bias here, but I like hearing that cassette really going because that means the machine's working properly when you turn it on. So that's always a plus.
Yeah.
And Ian, do you love the smell that goes along with that sound?
Well, my one of my main workshops is a shed out the back, so I can just sort of prop the door open, go inside and have a beer, and come back an hour later and it's all gone. So yeah.
Have a beer and a smoke? Is that what you're saying, Nav?
I have a beer. The computer has a smoke.
Yeah, right. Well, I have to say, in contrast to Tim, I love using I'm not saying you don't love your computers, Tim, but I mean, I love programming on my Model 3 and using it. I like using the Zeus assembler from Vernon Hester. I think it works really well. It's fast and efficient, and he has an updated version that he last updated in 2010. But the debugging tools that TRS-80 GP provides are just too hard to not utilize. It's not completely old school. I try to be disciplined and debug on my Model 3 because, like you said, Peter, it keeps you grounded. But sometimes it's just expedient to take that shortcut, and you pull it up on that emulator, and boy, can you pinpoint your issues.
Yeah, TRS-80 GP debugging is sort of like God mode.
Yeah.
It depends on the experience you're looking for. If you're looking for the full vintage experience, and if programming is part of what you enjoy about vintage computing, then I would suggest programming using the vintage assemblers on the vintage hardware because you're having fun while you're doing it. It's going to be frustrating and slow too, yeah. But
It's going to be me because I don't feel like going to any modern stuff because that just feels like cheating.
in a way, it is, but
Make lots of backup.
They all say that when they start.
Yeah, I'll say
exactly.
Until their first
Possible
disk
2 months.
failed, right?
There's something to be said for doing compiles that don't take, 5 minutes.
I was getting ready to say the compiles are long.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mixed bag now too, because I mean, originally everybody was making cross assemblers with modern tools because it's much faster. But now with all the emulators, you can usually unlock them and say, well, just run at 90 megahertz or whatever. Now it's not really that big of a deal either, speed wise.
Right.
When I first started developing some of my software, I was developing it on the vintage system using MRAS and LDOS and Model 3, Model 4. And I developed a couple programs that way. And then when I heard about ZMac from George, and I ported it to ZMac, and I ran it on my MacBook Pro to compile it. What before was taking like 5 minutes to compile. I wrote, ZMac, these are the files, boom. And it came back, command problem came back right away. So there's something wrong. No, it compiled the whole damn program in a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
So it's a different lifestyle.
Yeah, right.
That's where the emulators come in handy, because if you've got the muscle memory of using some of these older tools like I do, you overclock the emulator and then it runs as fast as a cross compiler, and then it's familiar to me. I don't have to relearn it all. I can just concentrate on writing the program.
But if you really want
breakout
if you really want to pump out the program software, use the modern tools. If you want to enjoy the experience, use the vintage tools.
Yeah.
And you guys have any good books? Any good books to help?
Oh well, there's countless. There's
Countless,
several
yeah.
that are.
Yes, the one Peter is holding up is the very first
all
one.
All of us read that book.
Yes.
From cover to cover, Ian. It's it's where we all started.
It's William Barden's book.
Yeah, everything by William Barden.
Yeah, even on the Cocoa, he did a really good book too. So
yeah, the Bible, right?
The Bible of the TRS-80
of the Cocoa is the Bill Barden assembly language book for the Cocoa.
Yep, that's probably the main one. Radio Shack sold that one. So
definitely. Yeah.
Also,
Peter,
if you can
what
get
was-
sample source code for existing games, that probably helps too. And actually, one thing where I came onto the call I wanted to mention here. We had Dave Shadoff, who's did a game called Star Sports. We did it as our Cocoa Talk Game of the Week. But he originally did a version of that on the Model 1 a couple years earlier as a teenager. And he tried to sell it. And by that time, the Model 1 market was starting to go, so nobody really wanted to buy it. But he kept it. And he's actually got on his GitHub, and I posted the link here in the Zoom chat way near the top. He's published a complete source code to it and a downloadable cassette file. And it was never released as a public game. So if you want to see some sample assembly code and the actual game itself to try, it's on his site.
Yeah, I have some blank cassettes. I might try that out. It's funny, but I do have some blank cassettes out.
Does anyone else have a project they wanted to bring up or discuss?
I can give a quick update. We're still working on, this is a perpetual project. It'll probably never end. Actually, neither of them will, but we're doing Nitrous 9 Ease of Use. We just did a fairly major release on Christmas Eve. We've got a couple maintenance releases coming up in mid-January and the end of February, beginning of March. And then we're also doing the manual project, which is updating the original microware Tandy manuals for level 2 to include all the new stuff that's been added with Nitrous 9 and changed and whatever. And I want to actually give it a public shout out to Boise, because he actually did the original conversion of the manuals, which saved us a hell of a lot of typing. So now we're just having to do the the changes and the additions too. But we got the first 2 parts of that out now too. So ongoing.
Boise,
project.
Idaho, or Boise, the person in the chat?
Boise, the person in the chat.
Yeah. Oh.
Live in Idaho.
Yeah. Boise, do you live in Idaho?
I think Boise's off right now.
Oh.
No,
he's from
Louisiana. I think it's Louisiana.
Yeah, it's Louisiana.
I definitely want to get into OS9 one of these days. Looks really cool.
Yeah, it's a fun operating system.
Team, I'm going to pop off.
Okay.
Good seeing you all.
Okay, Ira. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey,
All
right.
Bye.
So do you guys know where OS9 was developed?
Microware?
Microware made it.
Where Microware was?
Des Moines, Iowa.
Iowa, right?
Iowa.
Right here in Iowa, right here in Des Moines. I know
Ken
somebody
Kaplan
got-
originally did a 6800 DOS called RTOS. I think it was in '78 as part of his university thing. And then when the 609 came out, they worked with Motorola to do Basic 09 first. And then they said, we should write an operating system around this thing too. So that's when OS9 got done.
Yeah, I went to college with a guy that right out of college went to Microware. We stayed in touch for a while. He wrote, I don't know, he wrote like network drivers and stuff like that for OS9.
Do you know if it runs on the Super Pet OS9?
Yes, it does.
It does.
In fact, I think Boise was involved somewhat with doing some patches to it or something, if I remember.
Yeah.
correctly. Neil, do you remember?
Yeah, that's right. He was.
Neil, what's running in your background there?
That's a 486 Tandy. That's a
Oh, nice.
MS-DOS Tandy running 622.
And what's the game on it? Is there a game?
Stunts.
Oh,
The Stunt
Stunts.
Racer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Used to have one of those that I put a DX4100 in back in the day, but
Oh yeah, it
the
flies.
junk with my ex-wife probably.
All right, guys, we're 2 hours, so we're gonna wrap it up. I think we don't want to go too crazy. So, it's been a crazy year. 2021 is going to be back to normal, hopefully.
Everything's going to be back to normal this year. It's going to be like 2020 never happened. Is that right?
I hope so.
Maybe by the end of the year.
Would you go that far and say normal, or would you say better?
I'd I'll be happy with normal for now.
Normal would be good enough.
Yeah.
That would be.
All right, guys, let's call it a night. Hey,
All right. Good to see everybody.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah.
until next time.
All right.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks
Bye.
Bye.
See you, everybody. Thanks, Pete.
Yep. Bye bye.
Hi.
Bye bye.
Bye, Aaron.
Nice to meet all of you.
You too.
Good show too.
Yep. Thank you.
Oh, Peter, did you get that link I sent in the Zoom chat for that unreleased game?
I'll
Right near
check
the top.
all the way at the top.
8:05 p.m. I think is when I sent it. At least my local time, so it'd be 9:05 your time.
Or 9:05. Oh, Star Sports.
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
That's source code on the cast, and it was never released to the public until 5 months ago. So
Yeah, we'll take a look at it. Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Later.
Later.